President Biden's first State of the Union is in the books, and it certainly could have gone better, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the bar is set pretty low, though, right? Well, as expected, much of the mainstream media praised the speech as a strong call for unity, but it wasn't as much of a glowing review as you would expect. Just look at these headlines. Vanity Fair, doomed from the start. Newsweek, missed opportunities. And AOC, of all people, said it left a little bit to be desired.
And here was, of course, Joy Reid's immediate response to the speech.
He didn't take the hits that I think were kind of obvious in a speech that was fundamentally about protecting democracy, but that is who he is. So people who want red meat Democratic politics, you are never going to get that from Joe Biden. That is just not who he is.
Interesting. Well, for more on the left's response, we welcome in former Trump White House advisor and host of the Gorka Reality Check, Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Seb, so I just want to get your takeaways from last night, and how does it compare to what you expected going into the address?
I didn't expect much, but I was surprised. He stole so much MAGA platform. I mean, can I just have a sanity check, guys? Was I in an alternate universe?
Please.
Or did we have Democrat senators chanting USA, USA yesterday? Did that happen? I mean,
couldn't believe it.
A Trump rally, and then we're not defunding the police, and we're going to secure the border. That shows you how desperate they are. And I think it's a signal, to quote John Solomon, who was on my radio show today, that there is a civil war inside the Democrat Party when you have people still saying that there should be no police forces, okay? Like Ilhan Omar, right? Like Rashida Tlaib. And this man, because it's a midterm and he's desperate, says, well, of course we're going to fund the police. So he's in big, big trouble. And I still want to know, why are there Iranians in Ukraine?
Oh, my goodness.
I think it was a misspelling.
Did you see Kamala mouthing that Ukraine, not,
Look, between the Nancy Pelosi, between the Nancy Pelosi knuckle strange thingy-majiggy and the Chuck Schumer, applauding when he shouldn't have been applauding. It was the most awkward State of the Union that I've ever experienced. But I gotta ask you, I mean, do you really think that the political shop at the White House came over to the speech-writing shop at the White House and said, look at these poll numbers, we're losing, so you better put in secure the border, you better put in this unity agenda of stopping the opioid crisis and also funding the police? I mean, do you think that the American people will actually believe him?
Not if they've got two brain cells to rub together, okay?
Rub together.
Yes.
And also, hang on a second, how weird is it? The only thing he can kind of point at, but he's failed to bring that together as well, is Build Back Better, and it's not mentioned. I mean, this is the only proto-legacy he could have, and what, has he surrendered on Build Back Better? That's really telling, don't you think, ladies?
Yeah, it sure is. And one thing, Seb, that really struck me and bothered me was when Biden spoke of those two fallen NYPD police officers. But then he failed to talk about, obviously, the anti-police rhetoric of his party. And he flip-flopped from his campaign trail stance of reallocating police funding. And now he's supposedly for funding the police. But then he also said this. Listen.
Let's not abandon our streets or choose between safety and equal justice. Let's come together and protect our communities, restore trust, and hold law enforcement accountable.
And of course, all that pandering wasn't enough for the more extreme members of his party. You had Cori Bush calling out Biden for not mentioning Black lives. She doubled down on her defund the police message. I mean, what did you think of this part of the speech?
I think it's absolutely disgraceful. This is the party that hates law enforcement. This is the party that has put a target on their back for 2 years now. This is the party that fundraises. Kamala Harris fundraised for BLM rioters to be released from jail. More than 1,000 police officers seriously injured across America. And now, because they don't want to lose an election, it is utterly transparent. But I think what's worse than that is the 13 who weren't mentioned, the 13 warfighters who died needlessly.
That's right.
Only mention of Afghanistan was burn pits. Hang on a second. And what have burn pits got to do with Beau Biden, who served in Iraq? Absolutely just twisted and perverse. And God, I'm sorry, it may not fit into the usual comportment of the State of the Union. But God bless Lauren Boebert for doing what she did, because it is enough. It's time not to play Queensbury Rose.
Yep. Sebastian, I'm so glad you brought that up, because I believe that Congressman Lauren Boebert took such a bold step to speak up right in the moment and be bold about it. And of course, they got, both her and Marjorie Taylor Greene, they got dragged by the left, even criticized by the horrific women of The View. I mean, don't you think it's so important? If it would have been, let me just say this, if it would have been Democrat women that would have spoken up against Donald Trump, they would have been viewed as heroes. But because they are Republican conservative women, they are being criticized so harshly by the left. I mean, the hypocrisy is just startling.
If that had been two Democrat members who had stood up to Donald Trump or one of the other Republican presidents, they would have been given a contributorship on CNN before the end of the State of the Union. God bless both of them. And the fact that he mentioned this peculiar burn pits in Afghanistan, but he didn't mention that we surrendered Afghanistan under his watch, and that's why Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine. Don't mistake this. Yes, he pulled the trigger on that invasion, but he did it because he saw a weak, feckless, senile old man in the White House, and he invaded. Ukrainians are bleeding right now. Mothers, children are hiding out in bomb shelters because we sacrificed Afghanistan, and that was the signal to Vladimir Putin.
But hey, according to Joe, we're better off than we were a year ago. We're stronger than we were a year ago, is what he said. Unbelievable.
He gave that interview to a podcast a few days ago where he said, everybody's doing so well financially, but they're sad because of COVID. I mean, what bizarro world does this man live in?
Yeah.
Well, I got to tell you, their slogans of building a better America, not working. I mean, they got to stop with the B's. Build back better, building a better America. It never ends. Because let me tell you, the American people, they get it. They know that there's chaos at the border. They know that there's chaos at the international level. They know there's rising crime. And Biden could not deliver a strong enough message last night. Sebastian Gorka, thank you so much.
God bless you. He gets an F grade.
God bless you.
I agree with you on that.